of the series where that I'm making, going over the sort of some of the finer details of getting into trapping for those that haven't done it before, as per a comment that was left on one of my videos. Now, in this part, I'm going to go over the rules and regulations side of things. Okay, I've already gone over the regulated traps and the banned traps when it comes to leg hold traps, the sort that I cover in my videos and the sort that I use at Possum Problems. That if you go through my other videos, you'll find that if you haven't seen it already. This is more going over the formal permissions side of things. So yeah, let's get into it, I guess. So the by far the easiest route to go, when I say easy, I use the word easy loosely, is private land. You can either trap your own land if you have some, or a friend, or some guy down the road. But you need permission. So there's various ways of going about that. Go door knocking, go asking, do a bit of advertising. The biggest thing is you need the permission. All right, you can't just go and lay traps wherever you want. All right. Now, let's say you've got the permission and you've got the correct traps as per the ones that I've outlined in my previous video. Now what? Well, you go out, you set some traps, but you bear in mind a few other little things. First one being that you can't be within 200 meters of any dwelling. Okay, that is just a broad term rule, whatever you want to call it. That's a regulation. You're not allowed within 200 meters of any dwelling, and that's pretty self-explanatory. People have got cats, dogs, kids, goat. You know what I'm saying? You're not allowed to go there, so don't do it. All right, you'll have no issues. The other things you need to look for is, even though it might be private land, it may be within a flightless bird area or a sanctuary area. If there's kiwi and that sort of thing about, your traps will have to be up off of the ground. Now, you'll need to look at the specifics on this. I'm not going to rattle them off simply because I don't have them out in front of me and I don't do flightless bird areas. Okay, I set on the ground because I do land that doesn't have kiwi on it. DOC will have those regulations. You will be able to find them about how far up a tree and how to appropriately set to avoid targeting things like kiwi. The advantages of doing private land are, as long as you maintain your relationship with the landowner, or if it's your own land, you have quite a bit of freedom. Like you can try different lures, things that they won't allow you to use on DOC land. There are lures that are frowned upon in general. I'm not sure what they are. I've heard this and that. I just stick to what I know and what I trust, which is the flour, icing, sugar, cinnamon mix that I make. I've always used it. I've tried other things in the past, like aniseed. I didn't like it, so personally, that's my mix, which is cool because that's one that DOC do permit as well. But I mean, on private land, you can trial other things. I've heard of people using apple slices with the cinnamon and that sort of thing. I don't know if DOC allow that one or not. So yeah, that opens you up to that. And as long as you maintain your relationship with the landowner, you should really not have that many problems. I mean, you're allowed to use your air rifle if you shoot with air rifles, and the landowner consents to that. Some will say no, and again, if they say no, they say no. It is what it is. So yeah, that pretty much covers the private land side of things. It's pretty straightforward. Now, as for public land, all right, DOC land is about the only public land that people will have a shot at getting into, and there are various ways to go about this, but you need to have a DOC permit. So my advice on obtaining a DOC permit and finding DOC land to do would be to go online and bring up on the Department of Conservation website and bring up the possum control block management maps that they have there, and it'll bring up a map of your country, the North Island, South Island, whatever, and your region. And you'll see these little blocks and they're coloured in black. Those are the areas of bush that are managed by DOC that they hand out permits for. So you'll need to identify the block that you're interested in. Then you'll need to do some back research, see when it was last had a bait drop, a 1080 drop, because if it was 1080 dropped, one, you don't want to be trapping it, and two, if it was too recent, DOC probably won't give you the permit anyway. And yeah, if it hasn't been 1080'd recently, and it hasn't been trapped recently or too recently, you should be in with a bit of a shot. Now, just because there's a block marked doesn't mean you could get it either. There could be a backlog of people that have applied for permits. You can only have one permit holder per block at a time for possum blocks. Now, the blocks aren't as big as they look on the map. They do get divided into smaller, what they call sub blocks, and they'll give you a sub block. When you're trapping dockland, once you get your permit and everything, there's a bunch of other regulations you have to follow. You're not allowed to take an air rifle onto dockland, right? So if you're looking to shoot, you need private land. Okay, you can't be out spotlighting on public land for possums. It doesn't work. You're not allowed to. Not with an air rifle anyway. Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. So yeah, I've got a bunch of other regulations. Again, if it's a flightless bird area, they've got stipulations around the heights of your traps. They've got regulations around the laws and that. The dock rangers will go over that stuff with you when you apply for your permit. Well, at least they did with me back when I used to do dockland. I went in and I got my permit in person. I've heard things have changed again. See, I do mostly private these days. Well, all private these days. I went in person and they ran me through a bunch of stuff and told me what I couldn't do. Yeah, but the biggest thing to remember as well though is even if you hold a permit as a trapper and it's your block, it's not your block, all right? You don't own it. It's still public land. It's still Department of Conservation land. You don't have any right of way. You don't have, you're there doing your job. That's it. You're not. The huts aren't free for you to just come and go and use as you please. You can stay in them, sure, like anybody else, but they're not yours. Yeah, so just be mindful of all those sorts of things. You can't take a dog onto dockland without the correct paperwork and permits as well. If you get caught breaching any of your stuff, they'll take your permits off you and you face consequences for all of that. So you just be aware of those sorts of things. And that's about all I can share on the regulations and the getting the permits and permissions side of it. And then, as I said, I've got my other video there that covers the trap side of it. As for lures, I was going to look at making a video on the permitted lures, but the way to go about that is I'd have to go and buy a bunch of stuff and show you how to do it all. I don't use any of that stuff, guys. I stick with what I know and what I trust. So it's the icing, sugar, flour, cinnamon mix that you've seen me make countless times before in my other videos. Yeah, if you want a full list of other things you can try, they're all available there online. Yeah, I guess that's about all I can share on that one. If there's any more specific things that anybody wants to know, anything that I haven't covered, anything that I've missed, just leave me a comment down below in the comment section and ask me a question, remind me, say, hey, you haven't covered this, or you haven't covered, and I'll get back to you with what I can around it. Yeah, so the other things I will probably be making videos on in this series will be some of the other little finer things like how to pluck a possum, because how to set the trap, how to identify a good spot to set a trap, and yeah, I don't know, throw ideas at me. What else do you need to learn? What else is it that you want to know? Yeah, other than that, happy trapping, fucking stay safe, and adhere to all those rules and those regulations. All right, we get it hard enough as it is as trappers. We don't need people going around being goofs. All right, have a good one.